Hey guys, so I took a look at the strata that you're purchasing on 12th Street, the Shift building. And honestly, I'm going to go through a lot of my findings. However, there's not really a lot to find. It's a small building and it has really small issues and small budget, and everything runs accordingly. Everything runs kind of on it's a small building, so everything runs on a small scale, and there hasn't been a lot of issues at all. So Chelsea and I have both reviewed them, and I think your mortgage broker will as well. And I would say for sure this is a property that I would buy. It's, I would be grabbing for straws, actually trying to find something that's wrong with this property. And that's not very common, actually. It's quite common to see a lot of deficiencies in early years of buildings. It's also quite common to see people just outspending, outdoing, over renovating, underinsured, all sorts of different issues that affect buildings in their infancy and forever. But especially in their infancy, while everybody's kind of figuring out, what it is. What is it we should do and not do? Strata councils are usually run by volunteers. Everyone's volunteer, and not everyone always has experience. So this strata council is actually really well run. It's very tight ship, but it also seems very casual. It's really evident to me that they're really in charge of their financials. So, rarely do I see a strata that is so on budget and either has surpluses or even just small deficits. It's just they're running the ship, all the minutes, everything. I would say 80% of the minutes talks about finances and budgets and monetary things. I mean, for most people it wouldn't seem very interesting, but to me, I can see that somebody here is kind of obsessed with money and finances and taking care of the building, and somebody's like the treasurer and the management company. That's something else we'll talk about too. Don't forget. They are very very money savvy and very fiscally responsible. I guess you would say that's what I would say about this building, which is a really good thing. So currently there's $74,000 in the contingency fund, and that's from the Form B that we had before. It's not from the new Form B, so we're just waiting on the new Form B. That is healthy. There's 42 units in this strata. So $1,000 per unit would be deemed healthy. Anything above would be deemed great, and then even greater. So this building has enough money that is, I can say it's a healthy strata financially. They have enough saved. It's only a couple years old, right? We have to remember that, they're not going to have a whole bunch in the bank yet. But if they even just kept $1,000 or $2,000 per unit for forever, they would be deemed healthy in the eyes of someone who's in real estate, or probably the banks, I assume too, right? So you don't want to have too much in the bank, because that means you have all of your owners' money, and the owners, when they move out, they leave their money behind. So in a lot of the buildings where we have younger people owning them, we want to make sure we don't have contingency funds that are too high, because it means that you as the owners are leaving money on the table if you move out, which is probable. I mean, people will move out of buildings like this, every 3 to 5 years usually. In the seniors buildings, we might see one unit have $5,000 per unit, and that would be because those people are not moving. They're going to stay until they die or go to a care home, and they don't have money to pay for assessments if they come up. So for them, there's a reason to invest here. I mean, realistically, there's nothing coming up for expenses for you guys for a long time. Usually you're 15 to 20 years old of any asset for a strata, then you might get maybe your first roof. So it probably will be about a decade before you see costs in the strata based on experience and calculations of what happens in other stratas. So things that are going on in the building, they redid the intercom, wasn't working. Rentals are allowed, which is awesome. If you guys want to keep this to an investment one day and move out, this would be a great investment property. 12th Street is having a total revitalization, and it's going to be, I think you're going to really like living on 12th Street. It's I think it really suits you guys, and what is to come is going to be great. I'm just going to press the button on my phone. It says low battery. There we go. Okay. I think you guys are going to dig 12th Street. I love 12th Street. It's I don't know, it's got kind of a mix of all ethnicities, and there's just it has lots to offer. All right, so insurance is a big thing in stratas. So the insurance here has been assessed and approved every single year in the AGM. They've done increases. It's a very, very low deductible. And people are like, why are we talking about insurance? Because insurance in premiums in Stratus has changed dramatically because of there was one flood in the units, the O2 units. Somebody's washer overflowed, is what by sounds of it, and then it went down to one unit, then to another unit, and so those types of things affect your insurance policies. It's like anything. Once you claim once, it's your insurance can go up, right? So, buildings. One thing I did notice, so it's interesting, is this building there was a claim for I think $13,000, and it was in about 2018. And instead of going through insurance, I think the deductible was like $10,000. They decided to just pay $13,000 and not claim it. So that right away shows me, wow, these guys are smart. They're fiscally responsible. They know if they make a small claim, it can increase their insurance dramatically versus just paying a few thousand extra bucks now. It's like you guys have ICBC. You know what I'm talking about. So it's actually the first time I've seen a strata make that decision on a small claim to not do insurance. I thought that was really cool. I thought that seemed really brilliant to me. So, and the insurance broker is very close to the property manager, and that's another thing as well. Property manager is, all the property management companies are so expensive, and they're usually not very good. They're usually like don't answer their phones, and it's kind of like the industry widespread is not really that great, to be honest. It's nothing but complaints usually. So these guys have a smaller strata management company, which is great because they're not paying big dollars. You're not a big building, so you don't need the big top dogs. You just need a guy who does property management. And so it seems to be working really well, and the costs are really low, and your strata fees reflect it. And I think this building is very smart, actually, really, really smart. They really don't go outside of their means. What else did I say here? So rentals are allowed. Even though rentals are allowed, there's not very many. I think there's only 6 of them. When I checked the Form B, there's only 9 of them, 9 rentals. So proportionally, it's not even 10% of the building, which is really, it's about 20%. It's still a really, really low number for a building like this. Normally we'd see about 50%. So, affordable money are good. So I can't read my writing here, so that must be really important. Okay, so good thing there's a website for the minutes. They're running very small and simple, like I said. No live Christmas trees, that got passed. And so, what I'm saying by these is there's really nothing big going on in this building. The same people seem to be on council, and everybody seems to be voting together. So when there's an item, like we want to paint the wall black, everyone's voting together, which is good. We don't want to have, or like 95% are anyways. We don't want to be in a strata where people aren't voting together or not getting along. That means nothing moves along and nothing happens. It's very impossible to work with. So this is good. I see everybody voting together and doing good things. Also, every year, strata fees have been going up nominally. However, that's good. They're being smart. They're not doing huge increases at once or making big erratic moves. They're going every year, just a little bit. We're just going kind of with inflation or whatever the costs are for, power, hydro, it's going up. So I don't know. I think they're very slow and steady, and nothing's really unexpected so far. I have pages of notes, but I'm going to go over what's most important. 8 minutes already I'm in. So there's a small flood, and they did the cleaning and painting versus doing the insurance claim, which was great. There's nobody's fighting in the council together. Nobody's telling on each other. I think there was one big party on the 3rd floor. I think it was 309, and there was an excessive noise complaint. So you can imagine, it could have been someone's kid or who knows, right? What happened, but really there's only been one complaint I can see over this whole time, which is amazing. It's great. Usually, think about when you guys were young. Think about when we were young and we were renters. Come on, right? That's great news. So okay, that's good. So surpluses, strata fees are actually well in line. They're actually quite low, which is good. You're allowed to have 2 dogs, 1 dog, 1 cat. Make sure you read the bylaws. If you're going to do any big alterations, you need to get approval. So if you're going to put new hardwood floors in or knock out walls, you do any of those sorts of things, you need to get approval from the strata council. You don't need to get approval to paint or do a new faucet or something, but you do need, for the big stuff, you need to get approval. So the bylaws are important. We've sent them to you. If you have any questions, let us know. Even on move-in day, we want to let them know, hey, we're going to be moving in this day. Can we block off, this space, or just being a courteous neighbor, right? There is a crack on the building, and I just put no big deal. It's a no big deal crack. They've had it assessed and looked at. For now, they're just filling it. It's come up over and over and over again, and it's literally like one of the three things that come up. And one thing I noticed for sure about that is that we're in the 10-year warranty period for the exterior. So I don't know why they haven't. I mean, it's not a big deal. I get it, but if it is a big deal, you're still within your 10 years for the warranty for the exterior. So I'm really not concerned at all. I mean, it doesn't sound concerning, and even more concerning, you have a warranty. So I don't know why. I mean, it must obviously be no big deal, but your home inspector will determine that as well when you have a home inspection. So there's been some birds in the garage. There was a small fire in someone's unit. It's so small it's barely talked about. So it's probably like something that I start in my kitchen every year, like on some sort of grease, whatever, some pot or something. It's really not mentioned, so it's a pretty small item. It would be a big item if it was a big deal. So I read a lot of minutes. I can verify that for sure. What else? Be careful with your property and your appliances and your washers and dryers and anything to do with water going into anything lower than you. Just be really careful about that in a strata. That will affect your insurance. Make sure you get your own insurance as well for all your own things, for your own, like your own personal possessions. But also ensure that you have them for if there's any upgrades made in the unit. As soon as the upgrades are made, the insurance isn't covered from the building. So the building, when it's brand new, everything in it is covered by the building insurance. But as you start changing the floors or changing the tap, changing this, changing that, you're going to need a little bit extra insurance through your insurance broker. So if you don't have someone, we can refer for you, and we can just help you, guide you along with your house insurance. It should cost you about probably like $500 to $800 a year for a strata. It depends how much you want to go, right? There is no depreciation report, and there has been verified by the property manager, and they have deferred it, and it's a new building, so a depreciation report shows 30-year timeline of a building, and then it shows like the components of the building on the timeline, and it goes, I'll draw you a little picture. So you'll have 30 years, like that, right? 30 years, I don't know if you can see that line there. You can't see it, okay. And then it'll be like, okay, you're 5, you need this, you're 15, it shows the assets. So it'll show like, in 2031, you'll need a new roof, and it'll say, it'll cost you X amount. And so and then in 2035, you're going to need new stairs to the entrance on the side level. It'll tell you how much. It's very specific. And it's a great thing. So, hopefully your strata, you guys will get it probably the next year or two as you get, not older, but, as you start maturing more. And then you'll just kind of have these items, and you'll know kind of exactly the way things show up for you. Your home inspector will know. I have a pretty good idea as to what happens in a strata over time. You'll be in good hands for this one. With older stratas that are, 30 and 40 years old, it just is so much easier if we have one, because we can look and go, oh, okay, right? Like your home inspector doesn't have to do a 12-hour analysis. They can just be there for 2 hours. So anyways, that's all. Would I buy this property? Yeah, I totally would. I give it a thumbs up, and I don't give everything a thumbs up. You have my solid gold word that this is a great strata.